Hey, what's up everyone? Jeff here going live. Like I do most days, I've missed a couple days because I had to go to Southern California. I say I had to, I chose to, I wanted to. Jacqueline and I took Jada, our daughter, to Southern California for her birthday. She turned 10. Daddy's little girl's growing up. We went to Universal Studios Hollywood Saturday and took a bunch of extended family members out there with us, had just a grand old time, and Jada had a great birthday, and I got to spend some quality time with the fam, but that's why I missed a couple days of my lives. I generally try to do this every day. Anyways, but here I am today, and we are talking today about how to make $1 million in one day. And that may sound ridiculous, and obviously it's a little more nuanced than how it sounds on the surface. But I'm going to explain how basically you can make $1 million in one day. You can have some extraordinary things happen in one day. You can completely turn your life around in one day. For me, there've been a couple days where this happened. There've been days when business deals happened that completely changed my fortunes. There've been days when, like, let's say I met my wife. Definitely a big day. A lot changed for me on that day. But here's the catch. The catch is I can tell you how to be prepared so you can make $1 million in one day, but I can't tell you which day it's going to come down to. See, that's the trick. So many people, we live our lives, and I work with so many people kind of on this. It's like they're looking to the future, trying to figure out, when is that big break going to happen? When is that big day going to happen? And what do I need to do to be ready? But the reality is you can't predict. You have no idea. And so you have to be getting ready now. You have to be living every day like it's the day that's going to pivot your entire life. That's one of the reasons I try to make myself go live every day. You think I feel on every day, I feel up every day. No, but you got to make yourself attack every day like it's the day that could make the difference for the rest of your life. You know, there's a saying, the SEALs talk about this, something along the lines of, start preparing today for your hardest day, because on your hardest day, there won't be time to prepare. I believe it's not just about what's hard. Start preparing today for the day you meet the one person who can completely change your entire life. Because when on the day that you know that you're going to get to meet that person, it's probably going to be too late. There's not going to be enough time to make yourself polished, make yourself professional, make yourself eloquent, make yourself informed, make yourself well-read, make yourself knowledgeable about relevant subject matter, make yourself ambitious, make yourself motivated, make yourself have a documented track record of results and success, make yourself have a resume of things that you've done and references and people that they can cross-check. You're not going to have time to assemble all that on the day when you need it. You've got to be doing that work now. I think back about my life. By the way, you guys feel free. I know that most of these lives end up getting caught on replay, but if anybody has anything you want to say or chime in, feel free. I'd love to have a little back and forth here. But you guys, we don't have time to wait to get ready for the day that counts. I'll give you an example. So, you know what? Well, I guess to back up a little bit, I think why I've always sort of had this idea in mind. When I was a kid, I actually got bullied a lot when I was a kid, and but boo-hoo, right? We all go back and lament our childhood, talk about how it screwed us up, but that's not what this is. I'm so grateful for all of these things I went through when I was younger, because they forged me and they made me exactly who I am today. And frankly, I look around at my life, and literally, I started a program called School of Awesome. Like, what kind of person says, I'm going to start something called School of Awesome? I have a freaking awesome life. It's ridiculous. I haven't had a job since I was 16 years old. The one job I ever had, the one time in my life I ever let somebody else tell me when to be there, what to do when I was there, and trade me money for my time. I was 16. I lasted a month. I worked in the office supply room of a law firm. Downtown Houston. I was 16. That's the only time I've been successfully unemployed ever since. I don't have to worry about money. I get to go where I want. I get to do what I want. I travel. I speak. I have businesses that basically run themselves. I have amazing wife, amazing family, amazing kids. I have such a blessed life. And I look back on, and when I'm talking about, I got bullied as a kid, or this didn't go my way, or I had to overcome this hardship or whatever, I'm not complaining. I'm grateful. I'm humbly professing my gratitude to the world for making it hard then so it could be easier now. But when I was a kid and I would get bullied, the one thing I figured out is that I could usually wriggle my way out of these tight situations, these situations that could involve getting beat up or getting teased or getting torn down. I could usually wriggle out of them if I could figure out the right thing to say. So I got really good at figuring out the right thing to say. And then I think about later in my life when I was like 17, I remember, it's a funny story I tell sometimes. I say that God spoke to me when I was 17. I don't know if God spoke to me. I was a 17-year-old kid. Teenagers all think they're the center of the universe. They all think that if God has something to say, it's directly to them, right? I don't know if it was God or I just was sleep deprived. I know I was sick. I had mono at the time. I was probably on some funny medicine. But I heard a voice. And that voice said to me, Jeff, you need to become a piano player because it is the one thing you really love that you can do and get paid so that you don't have to go work for someone, because we both know that you are psychologically unemployable. You cannot go do a job for someone else. You tried it once, it did not go well, do not try it again. And I decided I needed to be a professional piano player. So I started practicing and I ended up dropping out of high school, junior year, just to practice the piano. It's counterintuitive, right? I'm gonna make a career by dropping out of high school and working on my thing. But then I went to the music faculty at University of Houston. I said, I want to be a piano player. They said, well, play something for us. And I played a little thing. They're like, how long have you been playing? And I said, well, this would have been in August. So I kind of got serious about it in maybe December. I said about 9 months, I think, October, November, December, somewhere when I started. And this was enrollment for the next semester. They said, you've been playing 9 months or less than a year? I said, yeah, but I'm like, look how good I am for so little time. They said, yeah, you're making good progress, but do you understand this is a university level, like conservatory style music school that the people that are auditioning have been playing for over a decade, even at 18 years old, even at 17, 16 years old. We've got people that have been playing since they were 4. You can't do this. That's not how it works. So every semester I auditioned. I went back 6 consecutive semesters before they finally, I don't know if I just wore them down or what, they finally let me in. I ended up getting a full scholarship, jazz piano, blah, blah, blah. But here's what I figured out. I was never gonna be the best piano player. My hands were never gonna do the things that the kids that have been doing it since they were 5 years old, that their hands could do. So I had to figure it out up here. I had to get to where I could walk into a rehearsal with a singer who maybe the singer had a cold that day and she said, I'm having trouble hitting my notes. And I go, oh, would you like me to take it down a step? Would you like me to take this whole song that's in the key of E flat and play it in D flat? The key signature has 3 flats. Would you like me to play it with 5 flats and move it down a step? Would that help you, miss? And she go, you can do that? And I say, yeah, because I studied, because what I couldn't do with my hands, I figured out how to do different things with my head, my mind. I figured out that the mind, mental preparation makes it possible so that in that one critical moment when you've got to do a thing, you can do the thing, not because you crammed and got ready at the last minute to do the thing, but because you were already ready, because you were preparing for it all along. And I had so many gigs all through my 20s, up until the time I was about 28 years old. I was able to actually make a decent living as a piano player who didn't start till he was 17 years old. Because of certain critical moments when I either could do something mentally that most musicians couldn't do because I had studied. I couldn't make up for it with my hands. I was like the 5'10" basketball player though, right? He couldn't outleap anybody, but he found the creases, he found the angles. That was me in music. But also, when I was 19 years old, I walked into this lady, Susie. Her name's Susie Kreiner. Heck, she may see this someday. Hey, Susie, if you're out there. I walked into Susie Kreiner's office. And I said, Susie owned the biggest, probably the highest profile booking agency in all of Houston. She booked all the real big high society parties for like the billionaires and the CEOs and the real high-end country clubs and the galas and the fundraisers. And she was high society and all of her clients were too. So I ended up walking into Susie's office at 19 years old. I said, I've only been playing piano for 2 years. Here's a demo. I'm okay. Like, I can play a little, but here's what I can promise you. You start putting me in your clients' houses, I will represent you a certain way. I will shave, I will cut my hair, I will wear a suit that fits, I will show up on time, I will not smell like cigarettes, I will be polite, I will be charming, I will present well, I will represent you well. And frankly, they're not gonna ask me to play, Rachmaninoff's Paganini variations. They just want to hear show tunes, right? They just want to hear background music. But I'm going to make you look good, and I'm going to connect. I'm going to present you well in terms of my interaction with the guests. And she gave me a shot, and because of that, I was able to get gigs that paid $200, $300, sometimes $500 an hour as a piano player. When there were guys that could play circles around me, guys that could play giant steps in all 12 keys at 300 beats a minute, that couldn't get one of those gigs to save their life, because they were too rough around the edges and they didn't know how to present. And frankly, they were like, why is this punk kid who from their point of view could hardly play piano getting these gigs? He's 23 years old. He's making more money than me. I'm 60. I've been playing for 50 years. Because I was able to have that one conversation. The fact is, and that was as a musician, same thing in business. There've been a couple of conversations that have completely changed everything for me, whether it's talking to an investor about an idea, talking to someone about an opportunity, trying to get a shot, trying to get a door open, trying to get your foot in the door, trying to convince someone. One of the hardest things to do is go to somebody that has more money, more influence, more authority, more power than you, and try to convince them to make your self-interest part of their self-interest. But the fact is, if you want to make $1 million today or tomorrow or any day, you're probably going to have a conversation with somebody who's more wealthy, more powerful, more influential, more connected, or has more expertise or more resources of some kind than you. You're going to have to be able, and you don't know when that opportunity is going to come. You don't know what day, you don't know what hour, you don't know what minute. I was in LA over the weekend. I ended up having breakfast on Sunday on 24 hours notice with one of the biggest digital marketers in the world. This is a guy who's on retainer with Facebook for $10 million a year just to be available when they call to bounce ideas off of. We're talking elite level guy. I found out on 24 hours notice I was going to get to have breakfast with him. I had time to, I guess, put my thoughts together, but I needed to have a big base of stuff, of work that was already done, or else I was going in with nothing, right? And so how do you convince someone like that you have value to exchange, or you have something to offer, or you have some unique insight, or you have some perspective, or something that they haven't seen already, or they haven't heard already, or been pitched on already, right? You've got to be doing that work now. You've got to know your stuff. Whatever your thing is, you've got to know 10 times more about it than the next guy. Literally, it's not enough to just be good anymore. The world is way too crowded for good to stand out. You've got to be excellent. Sorry, sucks, I guess. I personally think it's cool. I think high standards are cool. I think excellence is cool. But you got to push yourself. You got to make yourself get to that level, or else you'll be average. That's what average is. Average is a statistical term, meaning like most people, if you want to stand out, it's not even enough to be good anymore. You got to know your stuff. You got to have authority. And the thing is, in the world that we live in, nobody's going to take your word for it. You've got to start now creating a documented track record so that when you do have that one shot, that one opportunity, that one meeting, that one chance run-in with someone, there's some sort of track record or some third-party authority or third-party proof of results, even breadcrumbs that they can go look at, whether it's LinkedIn recommendations or videos. Or I'll give you an example. So last year, I have a company that's an online education company. And last year, a bunch of online education companies got shut down by the Federal Trade Commission for making deceptive advertising claims or having illegitimate compensation plans, or essentially violating a number of either securities or trade laws. And so the entire online education industry basically got blacklisted by the banks and merchant processors. And you had all these legitimate companies that hadn't done anything wrong, but because there'd been a few bad apples, they all ended up having to move their merchant processing to Malta or Cyprus or the Maldives or crazy foreign countries, which makes it harder to process credit. First of all, the fees are ridiculous. Second of all, half the cards don't go through because they think it's the credit card companies flag the transactions as possible fraud because they're like, why is our card holder who lives in Dallas, Texas, processing a transaction at a bank in Malta? So it put companies out of business. And I had to start calling around to merchant processors and trying to find someone in the United States that would actually take a shot and say to them, listen, my name's Jeff Lerner. This is my company. I'm not like these other bad apples. I don't represent risk for your bank. And you're talking about risk. When you're talking about risk to banks, they err on the side of caution. They have zero tolerance for risk. And they don't take your word for it, right? There had to be some other base of authority that I could refer them to understand who I was, what I stood for, what I had done, that I had a track record. I said, go to LinkedIn. I've got over 1,000 endorsements on LinkedIn for various skills. I have dozens of written recommendations on LinkedIn that go back a decade or more. I said, what about doing these lives? Do you think it'd be useful at some point in your life for somebody to say, hey, I want to understand you better. Oh, you want to run for office? How can I get to know you better? Oh, you want a job? How can I get to know you better? Oh, you want me to invest in your idea? How do I know what you're really about? Of course, you're going to tell me the good stuff now that you want my money or you want my endorsement. How do I really know? You say, oh, well, I've been going live on Facebook once a week for the last 3 years. Go back and watch a few of them. See who I was 3 years ago. See who I was 2 years ago. See who I was 1 year ago. See, people are looking for consistency. They're not just looking for somebody to come tell them all the great things right then and there when they want the money or they want the opportunity, they want the door to open. You got to start creating a track record. And in the world we live in, awareness is trust. You create the awareness, you create the audience, you create the demonstrated record, and then people will trust it. But it takes work, and it takes confronting the fear. Anyways, hey, I'm, what are we at? 17 minutes? See if anybody's got any comments here. Hang on.
You need it. You've got to be doing.
Thanks for sharing your story. This is great. Yeah. Hey, man, I'm glad to be here. Just here to serve. JD, hey, man, what's up? Appreciate you being here. Anybody got any thoughts on this? Anybody got something that they want to do that's big in this world, that's scary in this world, that they wonder how they're going to make it happen? I tell you, I was talking about this on a training call this morning. You guys feel free to share. Like, let's interact here, man. I'm on an island. But I was talking about this on a training call this morning. Somebody said, how do I make those conversations happen? How do I find the influential, successful people that can lead to opportunity in my life? And I said, hey, Rose, appreciate you commenting. I said, here's the thing. You don't. You don't. I can't tell you what day. I can't tell you what location. I can't tell you what situation. I can't tell you what the opportunity will be. But every single person in this world, simply by virtue of living and interacting and being a connected human being, we are coming across people constantly who represent gateways to opportunity and prosperity in our life. But we don't always know. When I was in my early 20s, I wrote a musical. That musical, I worked really hard to get it produced. I got accepted to a theater festival. Me and a dozen actors, we took this whole thing up to Minneapolis to put on a show up there. 6 weeks before the show went live, or before the festival started, my lead actor dropped out. I'd never sung. I'd sung a little, but I was not a singer, and I definitely wasn't a dancer. I had to step in and take over the lead role in the musical that I'd written. I had to get another guy to come in and play piano. So anyway, I took over this role. We go up to Minneapolis. I'm not a singer or a dancer. I'm definitely not an actor. I'm just a composer and a pianist, but the show must go on, and this was an opportunity. So I go up there, I do it, I put on the show, I perform, I psych myself up, do a crash course in acting in 6 weeks. And it was great. I had a blast. I mean, the key is I was enthusiastic and I had fun and I was willing to put myself out there. And at one of the shows, it was a 2-week run. At one of the shows, backstage after one of the shows, there were 6 people in the audience. That's the other thing too. Learning to perform when there's nobody there to watch, maybe just a handful of people. So anyway, I put myself out there, laid it bare, and after the show, one of the 5 or 6 people in the crowd came backstage, and I was talking to him. I had no idea who this guy was. Real unassuming, didn't know. He didn't stand out. He wasn't 10 feet tall. He didn't have a Rolex or anything. I had no idea who this guy was. But I was respectful, and I was appreciative. I was grateful. and I was enthusiastic. I wanted to, you know, I was excited to be there and to even get to do my show. And he's like, man, let's keep in touch, you know? And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Yeah, we kept in touch. Turned out this guy was an inventor. He had invented a retail consumer like an over-the-counter medical product that sold billions of units. Billions. Got bought out by a major pharmaceutical company. This guy was big time, big patron of the arts up in Minneapolis, and an investor, angel investor, and ended up backing me on a couple different ventures. I look and I trace that conversation. I go, okay, there were 5 people in the crowd. I could have put on a dud of a show. My lead actor dropped out 6 weeks before the show. I could have folded the whole thing. I could have gone in and half-assed it because I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer. I'm not an actor. Nobody expected me to be that good. I could have boo-hooed about it after the show. I could have been annoyed. I could have been tired. Do you think I wasn't tired? Of course I was tired. Some guy wanders backstage, starts talking to me. I don't know who he is. I could have been an asshole. I could have been too busy or too tired to want to talk to one of the 5 people in the audience that came back to tell me I did a good job. But because I was prepared in that moment, for whatever reason, I was willing to connect with him, I ended up building a relationship that I can honestly say, if I hadn't built that relationship and gotten the backing to do a couple different business ventures, that one thing led to another, that ultimately have me exactly where I am right here, none of it goes down. I don't meet my wife. I don't have my 4 kids. I don't have my Inc. 5000 company. I don't have my other company. I don't own real estate. I don't have joy. I don't have happiness. I don't have a semblance of the life that I have right now if any link in that chain that I just described doesn't happen exactly the way I described it. And I had no way of knowing. And you don't either. You don't know what's going to happen today. You don't know who you're going to meet today. Are you enthusiastic? If you find yourself in a shopping mall, you find yourself in a taxi cab, you find yourself, you know, at the store, you find yourself at church, you find yourself, some guy stumbles in your office, you don't know. You find yourself next to the one person that could change your life. How are you showing up today? Are they blown away by your enthusiasm? Are they blown away by your passion? Are they blown away by the exotic brilliance of your ideas and the elegance with which you communicate them? Or are you just showing up dull like most people do most of the time? Most people wonder why doors aren't opening all around them. It's because the people with the keys aren't opening for them, because you're not impressing them. You're not speaking to them. You're not resonating with them. People who hold the keys to opportunity, they're in demand. Their time is valuable. They're not looking to open it for everyone. They're looking for that one person who stands out because they're so enthusiastic, or they're so passionate, or they're so driven, or they're so motivated, or they're so insightful, or they're so decisive, or they're so confident. They're so something. You have to be so something. If you're not so something, then you're just so everything. And those doors don't open because the people that hold the keys, they're not looking for you. You have to be amazing in this world. There's only two camps. There's average and there's amazing. There's no middle ground. There's 7 billion people. It's too crowded for good to be good enough. You guys get this? All right, I'm at 23 minutes and I got another call I got to get ready for. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Thanks for your time.